What's really stopping you from getting to the goals you say you want? Listen in as the two business guys mastermind and make some pretty big goals for themselves. Enjoy. This business podcast, the two business guys mastermind, uncovers for you secrets and share tips and tricks to entrepreneurship as they mastermind on how to have startup, operational, and overall business success so that you can go on to get better results. Enjoy. Rob, good to see you today, man. On the episode today, everybody, it is going to be a very fired up episode today because we're going to be talking about what is it going to take for you to get to where you say you want to be. Now, I happen to have a goal, and that goal, Rob, is to get to I want to make $100,000 in 30 days, right? And I'm going to, now I'm not just like pulling something out of my butt or, saying, and I have no product, I have no services. So Rob, as I think about some of these ways, and I want to be able to talk about a goal that I have, but then also make it so demonstrative that others that look in on it then can go, hell, if that guy can do it, how can I? Now, we'll be there to help you if you need it, because we're masterminding on how you can. In this case, we're just using it for our own purposes. All right. So here's some of the things I was thinking about, Rob. I think about just simple math, right? 100 people paying me $1,000. That'll get us to $100,000. Now we got to do it in 30 days. So what does that look like? And then, or 1,000 people paying $100 for a product. Now, here's what is already, this is what I have. I've got over 22, 23, 24, I think now, different digital products, right? Little things, whether it's a course. What I'm thinking about, Rob, tell me where I'm at on tell me if this thinking is flawed. I'm thinking of bundling them, right? So let's say I do the product part. So, and I'm going to say $97, right? And I need to get to 1,000 folks. I'm going to bundle the products, all 20 of them. Here they go. You get access to these.
Yep.
Right. That first one idea, poke holes in it for me. Now, y'all listen in.
So I think the thing that, if we look at this and say, first of all, are you doing it automated? Or are you doing it? Is it a sales process? Can they go just straight from ad to sales page to purchase, or is there people involved? So if it's straight involved. So if it's straight from ad to sales page to purchase, right? If we do the math on that, you got 30 days, you divide those 1,000 purchases by that 30 days. So you're looking at somewhere around 33, 34 purchases a day, right? Over the course of the month.
Okay. So that's 34 purchases. Now we want to tell you guys this because listen, this is the simple math. Now, how you get there, we're going to be talking a little bit about that too.
All right. And if you go just with the standard 1% conversion rate on advertising that the market normally gets, okay, right?
1% conversion rate.
Then that means that you're going to have to hit an ad campaign that's touching 3,400 leads a day.
3,400 leads. Okay. All right. Now that's on that approach, right? Now, I've got multiple landing page builders. I've got several places where I can actually put the courses, bundle the courses. And what I've also wrote down, Rob, is that you will also get access to me. So that in that 30 days, how I plan on doing it, I've been taking a look at a lot of business models and approaches, Rob. All right. And with this simple math, right, 34 potential leads, whether I'm going to run an ad. So ad opportunity is one thing, right? I also plan on doing live streams. I've been hearing just a goo gob of information about what they call it stream selling, going nuts over in some Asian countries, China, Japan. I don't know about Japan, but China. Oh my gosh, just crazy, right? Somebody gets on, they got a farm, they're doing a live stream, they're selling like crazy, right? Somebody has products, they do a live, they're doing Stream selling.
Yeah, it's the same thing that the boutique's been doing, Lululemon or Lululemon. That's how they built their entire
Who else
company.
does that? What's that $5 jewelry?
I know what you're talking about.
Those folks get down. Right?
Yeah.
They get on and showing their stuff. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, couldn't I do that same thing?
Right. It's just like the infomercials.
Exactly. That's it. So if you guys are listening in on this, now this is something that I'm doing this as an experiment, and I want to see, can it get done just with the stuff that, I have laying around, if you will, right? And I started thinking about business models like garage sales. You got stuff laying around, pull it all together, have a sale, people buy it. And just in a fashion like this. So you're hearing what the math is. If we have like a typical conversion rate of 1% on an ad, that means you got to have about 3,400 leads, right? You're converting about 34 of those. If that's the case, right? Now, that means you got to be out there getting it done. Now, what about this approach, Rob? I'm thinking about the 100 people paying me $1,000. Now, for that 1,000, you get some consulting, you get some me time, you webinar. So I'm really kind of working through how that's gonna look. 30 days, y'all. 30 days, and it starts today. And I got a busy day with other stuff.
Yep. So if you're doing that one, and I was looking at some of the math on that, this again, because that now has a human component. So you're not going to be 7 days a week, 24 hours a day on this one. It's going to be more in your standard work week or whatever. So if you're looking at 5 days a week, so that's 20 days in a month, 100 purchases of $1,000 means you got to make 5 sales a day.
5 sales a day.
Right. And so similar thing, depending on how you're going to get these leads, if you got to get 5 sales a day and you do that conversion rate, that 1%, now what you're looking at is you got to get 500 leads a day.
So that's 500 leads, right? Now, here's where the magic is going to happen, everybody. As y'all looking at, how would you do that? What are you going to sell? Well, I've got my standard monetize your life, maximize your business. I've got my standard program, right? So that's the B2B and the B2C, business to business and business to consumer. So on the monetize your life, that is entrepreneurs or teaching you to become this, that, or the other, right? So that you can, live free. And I don't know, I got my script here somewhere. But anyway, that becomes a part of it. And of course, the maximize your business is, how can we help you create digital real estate so that you can increase your potential, the potential of your business. I've got to go get 5 leads, 5 sales a day. Right now, I have access to very well-priced virtual assistants, right? So I can really grab, and I tried to say, okay, am I going to do, I got to make sure that my costs stay low. Now, I can do 100 grand in a month, but then you got, 999, if the math, right? So you got, the key is to make over 75% on that. Right. So in other words, I got to make sure my costs are low. So as I'm designing this.
And in that space, when you're looking at that $1,000 purchase, right, it's still in that space. Because let's say you're at a 25% or 20% close rate. 1 out of 5 sales calls you close, right? Industry standard, somewhere around 20-25% is what most people are. If you got great salespeople and you got a great package and all the rest of that, then you can get up to 50, even 75%. But that means that they had a better customer journey before they get to the sales call, right? So we would say that you're going to need to be doing anywhere between 25 to 10 to 25 sales calls a day, right? 10 calls a day is a 50% close rate. 25 is a 20% close rate. So you're really going to have to look at what the time commitment is looking like with those sales calls, or whether or not you're farming those out, whether you're having somebody else do your sales calls for you, right? So like you said, you got some assistant stuff like that. There's a couple of people that have, you know, the inside sales teams that will do this work for you, those types of different things. But in all honesty, when you're at that $1,000 price point, you really still want to have something that they can click through. You can have a video webinar or whatever that can demonstrate value that they can go straight through, because you don't want to be doing all those sales calls, right? Because that's really just $5,000 a day. And even though it seems like a lot for, you know, regular money, when you're trying to make $100,000, that's a lot of hours to make $100,000, right?
Correct.
And so
that's where I was getting a little in the weeds, because I says, okay, I'm going to work it, everyone. If you're thinking about this, I've decided that I'm clearing out my schedule. I'm working 8 to 5. Now, why 8 to 5? I used to be a 4 a.m. in the morning guy. Found out that my chronotype was that of a bear. No wonder I couldn't get up at 4. Bears like to get up at 7 or later. And I noticed personally, I feel great when I get up at, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. I can work all night. Don't need a lot of coffee, the whole thing, right? But when I was getting back 4, shoot, by 10, I'm whipped. Although I was able to get a lot done, the effectiveness after I take the nap was just, nil. But sleeping in. So I says, okay, I'm working this thing like a job, but my job is to get me to $100,000 in 30 days. It is to unleash all of the tools that I have at my disposal. And trust me when I tell y'all, I got a lot of tools, a lot of software tools, right? Experiment with them all the time. I just sent Rob one earlier today. And it was like, oh, this is interesting, right? Where I could take a PDF and create some really, really cool stuff, right? I'll tell you guys about that one. Anyway, so using all the tools, leveraging my virtual assistants, and what I was getting some difficulty, and I start writing it down, I thought, okay, well, how are you going to, if you do the consulting part of this, how are you going to deliver on the time, right? So I says, as I'm looking at it right here, I'm going, okay, my time is going to look really weird. How do I get it done? I mean, this is the work, y'all. When you start thinking about, well, how I know what the goal is now, how would I reverse engineer that and look back and go, okay. So I thought, okay, working like a job, innovations, perhaps a referral. If you refer, this is one thing I thought about, Rob. Tell me what you think. I says, if you do if you refer me to one person that pays 1,000, I'll reduce yours to 100. Right. So in other words, just kind of I want the course. I want all the stuff that comes with it. Right now, of course, with the consulting, you get all access to all the stuff. I haven't decided. I don't know which one's going to work first. Right. I may need to give them all that stuff and the consulting.
Yeah, because the thing that looks like, again, for $1,000, when you're doing this type of work, that's the price point where you're really looking at doing something where you're not doing one-on-one consulting. You're doing something like a once a month call, a couple of times a month call where they have access. But I looked at breaking this down, right? We got two more tiers that we could break it down, right? You can do, if you sold 20 $5,000 packages, that's $100,000, right? And that breaks you down to where you got to make one sale a day for 20 days in a month. And, even if you're at 20% close rate, that's 5 sales calls a day.
And I can tell you why I didn't go at 5,000 here in a second, but go ahead.
Yep. And so that's 5 sales calls a day. And then that's 100 leads a day. Now, the beauty of the 5,000, and I'm interested to hear why you didn't go that way, but the beauty of the 5,000 is now you get to pack in value, because at the end of the day, you've only got to have this value for 20 people. Right. So now let's say that you are doing one-on-one coaching once a week in this package. That's 20 hours a week. Right. Let's say that you're doing group coaching. Right. That's even better. You can maybe have 4 or 5 groups of 4 or 5 people. Now you just shrunk it to, like, even if that's 2 hours with those groups, you just shrunk it to 8 hours a month of fulfillment. But the really cool part about it is, when you talk about the 5,000 for the consulting, now you can get into their individual businesses. Now you can do that because you have the time. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that the admin of coaching and consulting, the back end of it, the making sure that you keep everybody's businesses straight, all those other types of things, those are the things that really suck up a lot of your bandwidth. So when you're doing stuff where you're trying to give consulting, where you're trying to give coaching to a large number of people, this is where one-to-many stuff comes into play. Sure. And you have to think about, how do you do the one-to-many? That's why I was saying one call where, like, I remember, I don't know if you know Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher, right? Motivational speaker, all the rest of that. I know one of the things that they do is they have a monthly program where you pay like $99 a month, and it can go up to, like, I want to say $250 a month or something like that. And depending on which program you're in, you get a monthly call where it's a mastermind call. Everybody's on there. You can ask questions and they're on the phone.
That's the one-to-many approach. Yep.
Or if you go in the upper levels, then they go to even weekly calls, and then they have 2 different weekly calls. So they'll have a weekly call with ET and his mastermind crew, but then you also have your own kind of cohort weekly call that's just your accountability partners that everybody gets to go around and say where they're at and all the rest. So they create community for them, but it's not a heavy lift for the ET community, right? The Eric Thomas community. So those are the types of things when you're looking at this, just when you're looking at fulfillment, the question is, how are you going to do it? Let's say you're successful. How are you going to give the value that you're talking about in a way that's sustainable?
Now, here's where we're at. And I'm glad you brought that particular part up, right? Because and what I want to explain to everyone is that I've decided to do a sprint. I've decided to do a sprint because I'm a sprinter. I tried to 880 once and it didn't go well. Right? I think that back then it was 880, right? 880 yards, but now it's 800 meters. So
2 laps around the track.
Yeah, it just wasn't a good deal. Okay, I had eaten cookies before the event. It was just a bad day. But I'm a sprinter. I love sprinting. I can sustain a massive amount of focus as a sprinter. So this experiment, therefore, is not only to, see if I can do it, but also then demonstrate that it can be done. Right? Because there's a few people out there that I care a lot about that are thinking about going and getting jobs. And I'm saying, no, you're not. And let me show you, if you could, earn this amount of money in a sprint kind of fashion, now perhaps you would change your mind about that job. And I think if I can do that, they will change their mind about going to get a job, because I think they're brilliant entrepreneurs and have a lot to offer. Okay. That's one of the other incentives to why are you doing this? And I have a penchant for being lazy. So I know this about myself. You guys know that about yourselves. If you are also thinking that same kind of way, I like to take long chill moments. Well, doing these sprint activities may be the thing. Now, when we talk about sustainability, one of the things I thought about was, okay, if I can price it right, I've been doing a lot of research on what's selling well now. Given the economy is messing up people's NFTs and messing up people's stock markets, and people are getting skittish. We're sliding maybe towards recessionary moments and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, what would be a price point that somebody would go, if this just didn't go well, it's only $997. Or if this just didn't go well, it's $100, kind of a thing. So I'm thinking of, doing it in that particular fashion so that I can reduce out the potential friction. Now, from the experiment, what I'd like to obviously gather is, what is the sustainability model? What can I now say, what? I can make this, so I can get my, I can increase my MRR, right? So I can get that monthly recurring revenue at that $99 level. I can scale that in just tremendous ways, right? If I says, okay, it's $99 because that was a sustainability model. We found that from the sprint. Also, this is about that minimum viable product. It is about putting something together very, very quickly, right? And not making it so darn pretty that it takes so much time. And then giving extraordinary, massive, massive value. Because I'm finding out that when I'm talking with entrepreneurs, that's how they feel. Oh my gosh, I can't believe what you just talked to me about. I can't believe I haven't heard that before. And all these different things. So these cues are telling me that I might be in my sweet spot area.
Mm-hmm.
And then also learning that I wasn't a great coach because I always want to solve problems. Right? I wasn't a great mentor because guess what? I'm looking at the problem. I'm going, hey, there's a problem. Do you see it? But yet you're supposed to do things in a certain way when you're in coaching. You make people come up with the problem themselves and all that mess, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I ask people up front, hey, listen, do you want me to solve the problem or do you want me to kind of go through I want you to solve the problem. So that's what I kept discovering, that people just want the problem solved. Now, coaches out there, don't jump on me. I understand that if they own it, it came from themselves, and they get more likely to do it. But sometimes when an entrepreneur's house is on fire, they don't want the garden hose. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Would you like me to spray over here? It might help. Yeah, hit that part. No, man, they want the fire hose because the fire hose is going to put out the fire. Might give you a little, little water damage. But you will not be on fire anymore. Yeah. So this is what I'm kind of looking at. Mm-hmm. Now, as I think about what Rob is talking about, what is the sustainability model here? And I want to say that it will come out of this sprint, right? It is, I'm inspired by some entrepreneurs that are creating businesses a month, right? Mm-hmm. I came across one the other day, Peter, I think it's Peter Bevels or something like that. Pieters. And he was like creating a business a month, right? And he's a nomad. And, I'm thinking, man, this guy can do that. I know. And I got all these digital products laying around. Mm-hmm. So I says, well, what if I packaged them? What if I went out there and I did my live streams talking about how this is what you're going to be getting? Mm-hmm. Could I create an environment? And it's only $997. And look at what you're going to get for that. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, in the monetize your life perspective and maximize your business. So I can have two conversations. So that's also the idea of doing it in a sprint type fashion. Obviously, great quality, and then provide the access to me after the sprint. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right now, school's out. Our entrepreneur teaching is out in June. I think it's June 4th or something like that. But I decided to just start when I had the idea. It's like, when are you launching? Tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Not next week, not next month, not when I'm done. Tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's when I'm launching. And that's that do it now. Mm-hmm. Do it now. Do it now. You've heard that from Proctor, right? Bob Proctor talks about the do it now, do it now, do it now. Mm-hmm. So I just said, you get with some smart people like Rob and says, hey, man, I want to do it now, but how the hell do I do it? So Rob,
listening to what you just said.
Holes in this, bro.
Listen to what you just said. There's a couple of things that stood out in your plan. Number one, something that I heard you say was, I'm thinking about fulfillment after, so it's recurring, so we can build extra stuff into it, all the rest of that. But the initial package is going to be something. And so what I hear is, and I heard you kind of centering on that 997 space. Listening to your plan, I think that you kind of have two different sectors. One is just stuff that you're going to give for kind of somewhere between $97 and $497, less than $500, and you can kind of put together a couple of bundles. So now you got your upsell, your downsells taken care of in this whole thing. Yep. And then the other thing that I heard in that $1,000 package, it doesn't sound to me like they need access to you. That $1,000 package seems like it's going to be something that is going to be a maybe some videos, some webinars,
it can still be coursed.
A couple of courses that you bundle together that individually, are $997 by themselves, but you put the two courses together and now they're awesome. And what you give on the backside of that is for people that purchase it, they get an opportunity to have, maybe it's a 1 hour or a half-hour strategy session with you. Mm-hmm. Or something like that. But it's not something where they're getting unfettered access. It's not something that's too much value in that space, because again, you got to look at what the time is worth. And I know what you get paid per hour. And so you got to look at it from that perspective. So what I'm hearing is really cobbling together a couple of different things. So you got your your small bundle packages, maybe it's a couple of books and some software packages and some things like that. And then you've got the $1,000 package, which is here's the software that I use to do, and here's a roadmap, and here's these 2 courses that will walk you through how to use these software, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what I'm hearing in this plan is not, I don't think that it's going to be really time intensive from the perspective of fulfillment and them getting access to you. I think that's a cherry on top. That's an extra, but it's not a necessity in that space, especially if those courses are, and I know you monetize your life and to maximize your business courses, like those are amazing value in and of themselves. And then maybe you can do a question and answer session. Since you're doing this in kind of a sprint format, you can also have a town hall type of thing for everybody that purchases that can be involved in kind of a mastermind call, again, a one-to-many type of thing.
And I eat that up. I'll give you an example of something that just gives me an idea that you're spot on with that. Okay. So I do this, and sometimes entrepreneurs listen into what I'm getting ready to tell you next. Sometimes you don't know your own power. You just don't know, we know ourselves, and we bring all that, that trash can stuff, we know every time we don't want to get up, our laziness, our, depressive moments, blah, blah, blah. And it eats away at what others might see. And they might see, oh my gosh, when you show up, the room lights up. And you're going, what? All right. So there was a couple of events that help me understand that this might work in this particular way. I did this event the other day, and so it was a whole bunch of consultants, if you will, in the room. A whole bunch of us, right? Marketing folks. Well, I says, I want to be the ideation station. That's literally what I told them to call it, ideation station. And I says, if your business is at a sticking point, you come talk to me. Wildly popular, right? I thought it, and then I was feeling a little salty because I was like literally outside of the room. So we got the room full of folks, right, doing their thing, and then I got a spot over here by the fish tank. And I'm thinking, what just happened? Why? But they says, because we didn't want you to be in the room with the other folks because it would be loud in there. And then, everybody's falling over. And then they says, we're going to seat people around you. So I had access to 7 people at a time versus the one-on-one like they were doing. And it was awesome. And people were like, oh my gosh, getting value in. So I would literally say, okay, tell me about your business. Tell me where you might be stuck. I says, now listen, this ain't coaching. This is straight up. We're going to see where you're stuck, and I'm going to unstick you. See what you want, why you're not getting it, and I'm going to unstick you. Right, Rob? It was I was on fire.
Yeah, that's your element.
That's my element.
That's your element. That's what that all the time. That is what you are amazing at. I mean, I've seen it in person. So for those of you all who don't know, those of you all that listen out there, like this is, he said it perfectly. If you're stuck, he will see where you're stuck and unstick you. And that is Randy's kind of superpower. It makes perfect sense to me. I think that, and listening to that, again, when you're looking at these packages, we're looking at upsells and downsells. That becomes the upsell. That becomes an event that is, oh, so you got this package, you got this package. We're also doing this thing. This is an add-on. If you buy now, blah, 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 boom.
Yeah. That's exactly. And I like the idea that says, listen, for the 5K package, here's what's going to happen. Now that becomes a little bit more of the sustainability model. I got to make, copies got to be longer, all of these different things, right? But I like that as now looking forward, how we're going to really make big money. We're going to say 5 to 20. And we're going to use, what I'm thinking, Rob, is that use and leverage out this work to then sell to those that says, oh my gosh, he's got a short game and a long game for you golfers out there. Anyway, short game and
drive for show, putt for dough.
That's what's that? Say that again.
Drive for show, putt for dough.
There it is. Short game, long game. Okay. Mid-range, if you're basketball, right? He's got the mid-range jumper and he can shoot fours, which is coming to the NBA probably in a couple of years. But anyway, that's another story. So that's kind of the approach. Now, if you're listening in on this and you're saying, how can I break this apart? One of the things that we are noticing, Rob and I are noticing, is that it's really a lot about intensity levels, right? And I was inspired to have that piece of narrative, the intensity level idea, by a podcast I was listening to. And the guy says, he says his trainer told him, he says, continue to eat where you want to. He says, just give me more intensity. If you're doing and you come into the gym at a 9, or at an 8, give me 9. And he says, trust when I tell you, this is if you increase your intensity level, you will get better results, period. And so the guy says, you know what? I decided to add that play to my business. Now, Grant Cardone talks about 10Xing and all that, but how many of us are actually doing that? How many of us are literally putting a stake in the ground, 100 grand, 30 days, go? Give the time to it. Don't just 30, I'm doing my normal stuff. It's not going to happen. Ask yourself this question. Is your intensity level at such a place where you're going to hit your goals or go right past them? Now, this is just a minimum. If I do this and I hit way more than that, I'm going to have some interesting things to report out. If I lay an egg here, then I'm going to question every single thing that I did for that egg to get laid. Right. And then I'm going to try to crack the egg up and, make me some.
There you go. We either win or we learn. Now, is it going to be tough? Yeah, probably. But if I say I'm going to unleash the tools, now at least I'm giving myself, in your case, you're giving yourself a shot. You got to go all in. I was telling you guys, you may or may not know this, but I own a juice bar too, right? A co-owner of a juice bar. And I told the manager, we're going to get you some people. I says, we're going to, you ever heard that term? Everything but the kitchen sink, right? We're throwing everything but the kitchen sink is usually like in boxing and all that. I says, we're going to throw in everything and the kitchen sink to get you some people to come down there and work with you. So I'm doing everything and the kitchen sink, y'all. Wish me luck. Wish me luck. It's going to be, it starts today. And I got a full day of interviews on some other stuff. Got a full day. I'm going to make it happen. Right? I'm that inspired. And when you start looking at the math, Rob just rocked out the math. He's the math guy. Right? He rocked the math out. He said, well, here's what we know. Conversion rates are usually about this. That means this many leads a day. So then now you build out, how do I get those leads? What group do I got to go to? Who do I have to leverage? Right? You remember we talked about the who, not how. It's a whole book out there, the who, not how. That's the kind of thinking when you put yourself under this kind of approach. The law of Parkinson's kicks in. Right? You guys, if you ever heard that term, it's not the Parkinson's illness, but Parkinson's law of Parkinson's. Things expand or contract by the time you set for it. I set $100,000 30 days. There you go. Now this is audacious.
Right? Audacious, big hairy goal. Right? What did the Covey guy call it? Gosh, I can't think of the name of it. He calls it wild goal,
wildly impactful.
Right, something. WIG, W-I-G.
Wildly impactful goal.
Yep. So that's what this is. Imagine if you created your own WIG, your wildly impactful goal, right? Your stretch goal, past stretch goal, right? Because you hear people saying SMART goals. No, this is past that. This is saying, you know what? I'm 5'2" and I'm trying to dunk a basketball and I can't even palm it. That's what this is. And you're saying, how can I get that done? Well, somewhere along the line, someone says, oh, here's a mini trampoline. And you go, yes! It didn't say I had to use the normal gravitational. It just says I had to dunk the ball. My hands are small. I'm going to use 2 hands and I'm going to use this little bouncer thing.
That's exactly it. You got to think outside the box.
Get it
I'm
done.
excited. I'm excited to watch. I'm excited
Get it done, y'all.
to see the progress and see everything. All right, this is awesome.
I am willing. Here's one of the caveats. I'm willing to fail miserably. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to have people says, I don't want this mesh you're selling. Mm-hmm. Or, dude, we've seen that enough. I'm willing to, but darned if I'm going to sit on a bunch of tools and all that we have available to us to help us get to goals. Mm-hmm. Darned if I'm not going to show you how to get it done. Mm-hmm. Right. And you know, Rob and I are going to do everything going forward. We're going to be doing everything we can to fire you the hell up. Mm-hmm. Right now, before we're keyword searching and all that stuff, you know what? Forget all that. We're going to help you guys get your businesses to where you want them to be. And when we come on, we're going to be bringing on our books that we read and says, hey, man, I'm inspired by that. Our podcasts, I'm inspired by them. Our modeling structures, I'm inspired by them. And now applying these to our own stuff, that's what this is. So we can be the practitioner, and then we give you some of the other stuff. Hey, we did it. We're just regular dudes. You can do it too. That's what I think the mastermind can help you with even more. Let's mastermind on how you're going to get to your goals. Rob looks at a spreadsheet and goes, yeah, that ain't going to work. Because or he looks at a spreadsheet and goes, we can unlock value here. Don't you want that kind of stuff? You know what? I'm about to start selling. If you want to follow along in this journey, we will give you the opportunity. Because I'll have to lean on Rob a lot. I'll be like, man, what was I thinking on that day?
That's why it's good to have a mastermind.
This is what you were thinking. Here's what we know, everyone. When you have someone that walks alongside of you, I told a young lady this the other day. I says, you know what? I'm going to be here to guide you. I said, but you got to get in the boat. You've got to be willing to get in the boat. I says, if it's just a little river ride, I'm going to make sure you don't crash into the sides as a guide. Right? I says, but if you say, yeah, I'm not getting in the boat, then you're never going to even know what it's like to go down the river and enjoy all of that. And to say, I did it.
You miss 100% of the shots you never take.
Don't miss the shot by not taking it.
I love it.
All right, hey, I gotta get out of here and do a whole bunch of interviews. Everyone, wish me luck. Wish me well preparedness, because it's happening.
I love it. I love it. Awesome, brother.
All right,
awesome.
Rob, thank you for what you're going to help me with. and hopefully it's an example for anyone and love that's thinking about tossing this entrepreneur stuff in the trunk and going to get a job. Okay, brother.
All right.
Talk to you soon.